We're still on with the breakfast, and PlusTvAfrica. Opunabo joins us this morning, Inko Tariah, for Off the Press. Opunabo, it's good to have you join us. Good morning.
Good morning, Nancy and Kofi. Good morning, Nigerians.
Let's take a quick look at the Leadership newspaper. That's how we start off this morning, looking at the big stories. Bauchi governor accuses Atiku of unfair treatment. As boldly written, underneath, PDP flag bearer meets governor over grievances. We will win 2023 presidency despite opposition. Ayu is very confident. And we wish you good luck, Wike replies. I really don't know what that means. Tinubu, Atiku, Obi, others to attend the candidates' presidential town hall series. Could this be, another town hall series? 17 died, 18 others injured in Kano accident, Onitsha blast. 2023 presidential race is a two-horse race, Tinubu's camp. So who are we looking at now? Another petrol pump price hike imminent, marketers are saying. Free education policy, Erufai, others refund of school fees to pupils. Of course, the people say that we're closer to 2023 and you just begin to expect a lot of actions from the government. EFCC appeals court order committing chairman to prison. So yesterday, that was also another issue that got a lot of persons talking. Bauer being asked to surrender himself to the prison for disobeying court order or court orders. That's the much we can take this morning on the Leadership.
All right, let's quickly go over to The Guardian with these headlines on its front page. Lead story there, diesel gas prices compound FX woes, inflation outlook. Diesel gas prices compound FX woes, inflation outlook. Court summons commits EFCC chairman to prison, directs IGP to execute order. ASU forecloses fresh strike, decries half pay. 90% of leaders shy from observing corporate governance, says IOD. New Naira notes, good policy, bad timing, as the editorial in today's edition of Guardian newspaper. Insecurity, Nigerians worried over threat to 2023 polls despite assurances, and PDP denies resignation of PCC chair as aide tips Atiku to win despite rift. Those are the stories on the front page of The Guardian.
Now, quickly, we have the Daily Trust newspaper. Governorship race uncertainty over fate of PDP APC candidates in 4 states. And it's almost predictable that it probably might end in the tribunal. PDP has no candidate in Zamfara. That's what the court is saying. Binani Adebutu fights a reclaimed ticket. INEC must stand by rules of the game. The stakeholders are quoted to say these are the riders you find underneath that caption. Bandits abduct 20 children in Niger State and demand 40 million naira as ransom. ASU rejects half salary, Mole's legal action. Hush puppy bags 11 years, 3 months in jail in the United States. Quite interesting, and you find the nullification of governorship party primaries by court 2022. There's a pictorial representation. There's also an editorial 2023 beyond and beyond. Marketers push for 200 naira per litre as petrol sells above 180 naira in Abuja. Court convicts EFCC chairman for contempt. Bauer appeals ruling. Some people say you have to obey before appealing. PDP moves to reconcile Atiku, Bala Mohammed. That's the much we can take this morning on the Daily Trust newspaper.
And the final one, the Punch has these interesting stories. The lead one there, 2023 polls subject presidential candidates, others to psychiatric test. NMA subject presidential candidates, others to psychiatric test. The riders to that, those with untreatable mental, neurological problems should not lead. So the Nigerian Medical Association is saying medical body offers to set up panel of renowned specialists to do screening. Okay, let's go on. COP27 FG eyes $400 billion for energy transition plan. $400 billion. Where is that money coming from? ASU awaits court ruling on half pay. Nigeria, 16 countries to fight money laundering, terrorism. Awarding Qatar World Cup a mistake. Blatter regrets. NYSC asks members to promote unity, nation buildings. Latest set or batch of Corpus Youth Corps members who have been thrown into the labor market. Wish them good luck. Chidinma Foster, father, lied about Ataga's death. His police hush puppy 11, jailed 11 years despite wife and imam's pleas. And Celestial Church members mob punchman, police probe attack. All right, we will now bring in our guest, Opunabo Inko Tariah, who joins us live from on the program this morning. We'll start with this story in the Punch. Is it necessary, as far as you're concerned, Ms. Inko Tariah, what the Nigerian Medical Association wants to do, which is to test the presidential candidates, physically and mentally?
Absolutely necessary. I mean, what we've experienced with Yaradua in terms of physical, Buhari in terms of physical, and some of the presidential candidates right now in terms of mentally, when you consider what they puke during campaigns and so on, notwithstanding the electoral laws concerning stumpage. So they go ahead, cast aspersions rather than address issues and so on. And so you begin to wonder if most of them are mentally alert. And so it is necessary that they have to be subjected. But I can tell you that since there is no law to that effect, at least in this coming 2022 general elections, it's just a suggestion. But even in Nigeria, excuse me, even when you say they should be subjected, a lot of them will have a way to go around it. You get all of them, just as you have the certificate controversy surrounding a lot of these candidates. A lot of them will come up with all kinds of medical reports that will declare them fit and proper to contest for the election. But I think the most important message, the import of that message, rather, is that most of our presidential candidates probably have mental deformity. It's not just because they speak to you, or because they wake up in the morning and have their bath, or they eat and they wear their clothes, go out in public to talk, does not mean they are mentally sound. Most times what they say betray their mental state. Because, I mean, there are certain leaders, both governors, both presidents, ministers, and so on. When they speak, you begin to wonder. They have got a spinach in nature. You begin to wonder. These are characters that even the laborers in civilized climes will reject, will not allow them to admit them into their fold. And these are so-called leaders. You know, so the issue of mental state is crucial. It's crucial because it is a shame that most of our leaders will open their mouth and talk like, I don't want to even say motopack guy, because some of these motopack men these days are educated and intelligent, but the harsh economic situation pushed them to the motopack. So you begin to wonder. I mean, it beats my imagination when a so-called governor or president will open his mouth to speak. They digress from the issues, attack persons, and use all kinds of new languages that will stagger you as a human being. And you begin to wonder, how did this person get to that office? So when you talk of the mental state, yes, I completely agree. But when you talk of the workability of it, that is where we have the problem.
But let's turn our attention quickly to the Daily Trust newspaper. A lot of persons are quite concerned about electoral litigations, and we not just trying to sound like prophet of doom, but feels like in 2023 the conversation might still continue. The Daily Trust says uncertainty over the fate of PDP APC candidates in 4 states. Why are we still having this conversation? I mean, why are we still talking about you know, the fate of who becomes a candidate in a certain state just a few months before the elections?
Well, this is quite normal. I mean, when you are aggrieved, what do you do? You resort to the law courts. Is that not better than instigating intifada, trying to stimulate crisis and so on? And you have to wait until the court gives a judgment. Well, you see, we should also come up with laws in such a way that, because you are also denying the electorate the right to choose their candidate when it is circumscribed. So you have a lot of persons, probably they would have wanted to vote for the PDP, hypothetically. Now you say the PDP is not on the ballot. So the people are now forced to vote for either APC or Labour or any other party. I mean, that does not in any way justify the whole essence of democracy. So what I think they should do right now, because the implication of this is that most of these states are not going to have governorship candidates. That's the truth about it. Now, what the law should do is, when you have pre-election matters, you settle those pre-election matters long before, so that even when the court gives an order for the reconduct of your primaries, there is enough time, or the court makes a declaratory judgment to say this is the candidate. For the situation which means every trial must be done expeditiously. But a situation where a court will give a judgment, thereby denying a particular party the right to participate, is completely unacceptable. Completely unacceptable. It is very, very wrong. I think they have to review the electoral laws to provide for all these issues that I have just signposted.
Inko Tariah, let's look at the leadership now. They're the ones, of course, other people are covering this, but they're the ones who have made this the lead story, the situation in the People's Democratic Party, which, of course, Atiku Abubakar has had to grapple with, the G5. The paper is also informing us that now the governor of Bauchi State has also become a problem, a headache for Atiku Abubakar. And the Bauchi governor has been speaking. He's accused Atiku Abubakar, like the paper says, of treating him unfairly. He feels that Atiku is sidelining him in the presidential campaign council and the campaign activities in Bauchi State, because he, Bala Mohammed, was one of those who contested against Atiku, or with Atiku, for the presidential ticket of the PDP. So he feels that he's being unfairly treated. But we hear that the PDP flag bearer has met with the governor over his grievances, is what the paper is saying. What are your thoughts on this, Mr. Inko Tariah?
Well, you see, lukewarm acceptance is much more bewildering than outright rejection. And that was probably what informed the Bauchi State governor's reaction. The beauty about it is that he made it open. His grievances were expressed. And at the same time, he was also willing for a rapprochement. And the presidential candidate of the party and other top party bigwigs met with him. And I think they've been able to resolve that issue. It's a matter of perception. Oh, because I contested, I was approached to step down for you, I refused to step down for you, and that is why I'm being treated with some form of levity. Of course, it is right, it is a feeling. But then, deal was reached, overtures were made, and the man is willing, unlike the G5 that is making a nuisance of themselves. The man is willing, and I think he has accepted some of the terms. I mean, conflict is a function of interaction. And because man cannot now communicate, you're prone to it. What matters is resolution of that conflict. And not behaving like a goat that at every point in time you have to be prodded, you have to be talked to, you have to be pushed around, you have to be beat. No. That shows some level of maturity. So I don't think we still have issues. Let's wait and see the developments. You know, in politics, every second counts. Tomorrow, you might hear the Bauchi State governor say, no, I completely disagree. It must be this. But I tell you, most of the reasons advanced are specious reasons. They are what I call stalking horses, you know. They are not the main reasons. The aggrieved parties just come up with a reason to justify whatever actions they want to take. But the good thing is that the leaders, who are also old politicians, seasoned politicians, also understand this game, because probably in the past they have also played the same game. So they understand the game. And so whenever you come up with a reason and they believe that they can address it, they try as much as they can to address it. But if they cannot, what do you do? Just like Atiku has said to top, vote for any president of the I mean, if I come to you to say, Kofi, no matter what, if I say, Kofi, even if I go to bed with your wife, God forbid, and I say, I'm sorry, I kneel down bed, and you say, no, Nabo, you must be killed. At the point, I'll say, well, okay, fine. If you can kill me, you kill me. If you cannot kill me, so be it. It's human nature. That's how we are. You know, so I just strongly believe that in the case of the Bauchi state governor, I mean, an accommodation will be reached. And there are signs of that. So let's wait for events as unfold.
I know you were speaking hypothetically right there.
I'm sorry, I'm cold.
Sorry.
I didn't think...
Opunabo was speaking
Kofi, but you didn't need to respond to that. He didn't really mean it.
Of course. I noticed Bessie was wondering, so I'm just telling you it's a hypothetical statement.
Opunabo Inko Tariah, we need to continue the conversation. On the Daily Trust newspaper, court convicts EFCC chairman for contempt. We're talking about Bauer as he appeals the ruling. And, you know, the conversation has been ongoing. And some are saying that he has to obey it. I mean, so you obey the ruling, the court order before appealing. And others are saying, why is it that we're at the time where the law is no longer a respecter of a person? Because we have cases where there's been a disregard for court ruling. Your thoughts on this?
You see, we live in a country where the rule of law is changed and the administration of justice roundly subverted. A country where the tempest of justice blows fitfully. It is so sad that the EFCC that relies heavily and squarely on the courts for conviction and for supposed justice, is the same EFCC trying to disobey court orders. Now, an appeal is not tantamount to a stay of its execution. What I expect the EFCC chairman to do is to surrender himself, obey, comply. And while you're in detention, it's contempt of court. And while you're in detention, you can appeal. But right now you apply because you are not above the law. You know, you don't cherry pick in the administration of justice. And that is what they're trying to do, just like what that shameful, I'm on air, that disgrace of a CCP chairman is doing right now. The court has even ordered him, so I am free to say what I want to say, because the court has ordered him to appear before the Senate. That his court is answerable. And he has refused. He said he's going to court. And that is a supposed chairman of a code of conduct tribunal. How can you bequeath what you don't have? What conduct? The man has no conduct and is the chairman of the Code of Conduct Tribunal. How ridiculous can that be? So now in the case of the EFCC chairman, let him comply. After that, yes, while complying, you can go ahead. But because, what is it called? An appeal is not tantamount to a stay of execution. For now, he's been convicted. And I don't know what the IGP is doing. What the IGP should have moved in immediately, because it is within his remit to so do. He should have moved in to arrest him. After all, those around the EFCC chairman are policemen who are answerable to the IG. So they should move in and arrest him and detain him. But they will not do it because he's a EFCC chairman. But the moment the president is against him, they will move in. That is the problem. Selective application of the law. That is the problem, and that is why we are where we are today.
All right. The Guardian has some space for the ASU strike coverage, of course, with the whole situation over the half pay of the salary and the lecturers having a neck meeting throughout the night or through the night. With this headline, ASU forecloses fresh strike, decries half pay. The paper saying the Academic Staff Union of Universities has risen from its National Executive Council meeting with a resolution not to embark on another strike. The body, however, the paper says, condemned attempts by the federal government to turn academics into casual workers through its pro rata payment for 18 days. Your thoughts on this, Opunabo? Because we hear some lecturers received 40,000 naira, 50,000 naira. Some professors are receiving 80,000 naira. I think for 18 days work. What are your thoughts on this?
It's a portmanteau of issues. First and foremost, the federal government is no longer interested in our educational system because their children and wards are not in this country. We've even seen a situation where the children of the president of the country is out of the country studying. Some have even graduated, and it was publicized, shamelessly publicized. And so most of them are not bothered about our educational system. And so those that really suffer are the students and their parents who cannot send their kids abroad. They are the ones suffering. And probably it is on that ground that ASU now called up the strike. In the interest of Nigerians, excuse me, in the interest of Nigerians who cannot afford to send their kids abroad and who, by virtue of that strike, have been kept at home, losing so many years. But then, for that's why I said it's a portmanteau of issues. Otherwise, left to me alone, now that just said ASU embark on another strike. But this government is going. This is in the twilight. It's in this twilight. So it's actually going. So it's not really bothered if ASU should embark on another strike or not. So how are they going to address the issue? The federal government, I mean, you cannot pay medical doctors in full. Every other sector that went on strike, they were paid in full. Now you talk of ASU. Now I also understand that these other two sectors that were created in order to vitiate the strength of ASU, we are paid in full, just ASU. So it's like a vendetta. The federal government being vindictive. You know, like how dare you challenge us? And that is what ASU is paying for. What crime did ASU commit? An improved standard of education. It's as simple as that. Most of our professors cannot even express themselves in English. Kofi, you can attest to that. Most of them, meanwhile, they're professors. Go to the lockers and hear lawyers speak, and you begin to wonder if they ever had elementary 6 certificates. You begin to wonder, but they are lawyers. Tomorrow, these are the same persons that will teach the other ones. And now you see how the standard is dropping. And that is what ASU is kicking against. Now, look, the standard is dropping. We need this particular standard. There has to be a benchmark. We've not even met the United Nations Educational Commission or whatever benchmark, even in terms of budget allocation. The educational system is being treated with triviality. So what do we do? I call on ASU to please embark on another strike. Let them wait till the next government comes into power. Although it will make no sense to the likes of Buhari, the likes of a medical doctor, it's a shame. It should be a disgrace to his profession. Look at Indigate. I'm happy that even the Minister of Education himself admitted that he's a failure. He should so admit that it's a complete failure. So arrogant, so hubristic in nature. Right. That's not how you lead.
Thank you, Opunabo Inko Tariah. Interesting. We could go on and on and on. I wouldn't mind having you and Gege on a panel to discuss this issue. I'm sure it'll be fireworks all through. I'd like to thank you very much for your time and for giving us your expert analysis, as always, Opunabo Inko Tariah. Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
All right.
Thank you.
Fantastic.
All right, thank you so much. We appreciate your time. It's always, very exciting speaking with Opunabo Inko Tariah right there. We'll take a breakdown, and when we return, it'll be time for us to look at our first major conversation. Please stay with us.